Shabbat Shalom, my friends, and a special shout out to all of you who in the past several weeks have chosen to join our ongoing conversation about the weekly Torah portion. A number of you I met for the very first time just a few weeks ago at the Alpha Epsilon Pi Fraternity Convention. You are all very welcome into this special community. And as is standard, I'll always be delighted to receive your emails, your suggestions, your comments, your disagreements, your suggestions. Be in touch. Okay, so our Sedra is SHOFTIM, Deuteronomy 16, beginning with verse 18 and following. The word SHOFTIM means judges. Moses is reminding the people that as they settle into the promised land, it is absolutely essential that there be a functioning court system. Not staffed by judges who only reflect the will of an earthly sovereign, but with judges whose decisions will reflect mishpat tzedek, righteous judgment, impartial judges who will never take bribes. And there is this incredible imperative, incredible sentence found at the very beginning of our Sedra. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Justice, justice shall you pursue. Powerful line. Laman tichyeh, it ends, so that you may survive and become proper owners, fit owners, worthy inhabitants of the promised land. Without good courts, you don't deserve the land. Survival of a society requires justice. So let's cut to the chase. If need be, for the sake of discussion, don't even think about the ethical consequences if your court system is corrupt. And don't even think about criminal penalties that could fall upon judges who are corrupt. The bottom line, the very practical bottom line is this. Our very survival as a people, as an organized community, as a society in which individuals engage in commerce, as a people founded upon family units, all of that can only be held together through the establishment of impartial courts. Without impartial courts, all of that falls apart. Set those courts up and keep them free from the power of earthly sovereigns, from self-serving self-interest, from the corrupting ties of undue influence, or else everything that you treasure will be lost to chaos. That's what our Sedra has to say. Courts are no small matter. The rabbinic literature goes so far as to focus on how a judge actually comes to be appointed and what it means to be qualified as a judge. Rashi, following that literature, says that we have to be a little bit wary of appointing judges just because the people are distinguished looking. It looks like a judge, make him a judge. Or people who have a history of bravery. Or people who are family members. Or people who have a history, let us say kindly, of being somewhat approachable if there's a bit of trouble. Not good enough to serve as judges, not by far. And don't believe that this legislation about the requirement for establishing a judicial system applies only to the Jewish people. Do you remember that cluster of laws known as the 7 laws of Noah? According to our understanding of Genesis, after the flood, all of humankind was given seven basic laws, 7 universal laws, 7 laws by which everyone and anyone will be judged by God. How important are these laws? The Talmud states that non-Jews, Gentiles, who observe the 7 laws of Noah are entitled to a place in the Olam Haba, in the world to come, call it heaven, if you will. That's pretty serious. You don't have to observe Torah. Everyone has to observe the 7 laws of Noah. So what are the 7? Don't worship idols. Don't curse God. Don't commit murder. Don't commit acts of sexual immorality. Don't steal. Don't be cruel to animals. And the big number 7, establish courts of justice. Those 7 are universally binding, whether or not one is a member of the Jewish people. Please notice, the 7 don't even mention Shabbat or Kashrut. And they actually have a universal reach which is greater than the 10 commandments. And one of those 7 is the imperative to establish a court system. Let's drill down just a bit more. What's implicit in such a universal requirement? Think about it. Humankind cannot survive in society if we permit, tolerate, allow, fail to punish murder or theft, if we don't respect the boundaries of sexual propriety, if we don't have a set of laws that lift us above the jungle, everything we have will fall apart. But wait a minute. Then we already have rules. Why aren't these rules enough? Look around. Throughout the world, every place, all over the world, there are ingrained expectations and norms and standards and mores and customs. Even the most primitive peoples on earth have always had at least implicit standards of behavior. So why do we need courts? Our Sedra is teaching us that having standards isn't enough. It won't suffice. Human beings, please don't take this personally, or maybe we should, in a so-called natural state, will not necessarily reach toward the highest possible standards of behavior. Early in Genesis, we are warned that human beings are beset by drives and compulsions that can be highly destructive. Rak, ra, kol, hayom. We are malicious, dangerous, evil pressures exist within us every day, all day. These pressures constantly attempt to influence our behavior. They urge us to pursue self-interest at no matter what cost to others. Those pressures are ever with us. Our current rung on the evolutionary ladder doesn't at all mean that what we once were when we were hunters and gatherers has been totally replaced by our latest insights into civility and civilization. My friends, we haven't evolved out of our origins. I even like that phrase. We haven't evolved out of our origins. And we don't follow the theological underpinnings of one of my most favorite books while I was in high school. Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Rings came later. Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies claims that we are tainted by what? A mythical original sin. Not so. We haven't been cursed because of what purportedly occurred in the Garden of Eden, awaiting a salvation that can only come to us by embracing a specific set of beliefs. The Talmud has dozens of ways to play with proving the danger of believing that we don't need a formal structure for our communities, as well as a formal mechanism to apply laws and punishments. Take that phrase, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Justice, justice shall you pursue. What's unusual about that phrase? There appears to be a doubling. Oops! We know that the Torah is not supposed to have even one superfluous word. So if it says tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, we have a problem. The first tzedek, says the rabbis, means the imperative to establish courts. Tzedek, establish courts. But the second tzedek means that those courts must operate with justice. And justice doesn't come naturally to us. Nechama Leibowitz points out that even those ritual laws that seemingly have no connection with civil law, with criminal law, in fact have a purpose to sensitize us, to teach us what a world of justice really looks like. She uses an example, shchita, the kosher slaughtering of animals. She points out that originally in the Torah, humankind wasn't supposed to be flesh eating. But concessions were made to allow us to eat flesh because of an awareness of human weakness. But some of the rabbis have taught that the laws of shechita are designed to awaken within us an awareness of our just relationship with all animals, kinship with all flesh, so that someday we will evolve beyond kashrut and stop eating animal flesh totally. Even the laws of kashrut are designed to help us come to feel the need for a world of justice. Setting up courts of justice so that we can apply justice in a just fashion, so that we can learn to accept justice as a norm. We set up those courts to learn about justice. We set up courts of justice so we can internalize the value of justice in our lives. We set up courts of justice as a framework within which we can shape human society into a place within which the process of human, ethical, and spiritual evolution can take place. Without the courts, we couldn't do that. Set up courts of justice so that the very best that is within us can reach toward the stars. Wow. That's it for this week. Thank you so very much for joining us. Come back next week. Please hit share so that the reach of this Torah conversation can continue to expand. And tzedek tirdof. Create courts of justice. Have those courts function justly. And learn to accept justice as a norm despite the reality of our origins. Have a great Shabbat. Bye-bye.